Hey folks, it's me Chris, and I wanted to take a few seconds of your time to talk about this awesome new opportunity that we've been presented with for all of our lovely listeners. We can now offer you all a 1-month free trial from audible.com, allowing you full access to a vast library of audiobooks to choose from. As I mentioned earlier, the trial is completely free, and all you have to do is visit audibletrial.com/GHS and follow the instructions to sign up for a free membership today. We hope you guys enjoy Audible just as much as we do, and thanks for your time.
Well, it's like when they make him the entity, it's like it's pushing back. But like any event he's doing is pushing back. Like because if he's going with Sadie, that's still pulling something away from something else.
He orders a ham sandwich. Someone else was supposed to eat that ham sandwich.
Exactly, man. Damn fucking straight, man. That's exactly
when he takes a shit later in the toilet. That shit should have never been there. That was someone else's.
God is going to have beef with the past.
It should have been every second, you know. But see, that's an interesting point because even like the show even kind of stumbles in its own rules because obviously if they did that, it would be such a boring show. He would never have a moment to kind of like calm down. He'd always be running. But still, it's great point. Like he shouldn't be able to do anything on the fucking show.
Like
standing there is bad, you know.
Because there's a great scenes where it has that guy come up and he's like, "You can't change the past." Like you're stuck in a loophole, and he has a great moment when he's in the car with Franco. When he like basically is sitting in that car with Sadie, and then it kind of like rain starts and thunder, and then he turns up and he starts explaining it to him. Like he's like, "You can't change it." And, like he gives kind of real good context, but apart from that, except that one guy who keeps ranting on about it. It just doesn't feel right because I'm like the rules are not. There's no rules like that. The only rules were made by fucking Templeton, and who told him the rules? Like that. That's why I mean like there's an overarching massive gap about what the story is. Like that spiderweb isn't complete because there's no real, meaning behind anything. There's no real kind of like why this is happening, what's happening. Like some things are mysteries, but that's a cop out in saying everything needs to be a mystery. Something has to have context and relevance to someone. And it isn't this. It's just like, right, okay. And like, I think like this is another problem, like as well. When they show the future, when Franco goes back afterwards, Kennedy, and like the post-apocalyptic war, everything else that's happened, whatever else you want to call it, there's no real context there in history. Look at games like Wolfenstein, and like then look at films like, look at books and TVs like Philip K. Dick's Man in High Castle. They have real history surrounding it. They give you answers for everything. Because if and I'm a historian, like in kind of like I have my history degree and everything else, I watch it, I'm going to ask questions. What happened to Stalin? What happened to LBJ? What happened to Kennedy's like wife? But there's not that. It's like, he opened up refugee camps, like kind of like more like concentration. I'm like, Kennedy? Like, what? Like, are you kidding me? And it's like, how does this make any sense? I mean, you are reinterpreting it, saying that maybe he did become a bad man. Everyone thinks he's a good man, but maybe he did go down the straight path of like becoming like the embodiment of Nixon, LBJ, and JFK at the same time. But it's like the guy who spoke to fucking Franco started saying, "Thank you, you're a national hero," blah blah. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, how's that guy turned into like a monstrous human being who's called like all-out war?
Well, I think the interpretation of the show was that something happened during.
Sorry.
Yeah, remember?
Sorry. They explain that it's Kennedy runs for the second term, wins, and then in '68 the Democrats lose. So LBJ doesn't come in, and then
I think the Cold War actually they fired missiles. Like the Cold War actually happened.
Yeah, so basically they cut out Nixon and say that there's some other Republican comes in, wins the seat of the presidency and that kind of things. But like they still say that Kennedy sets up something to refugee camps, I think, like on that kind of line. But again, though, it's so translucent and has no real kind of meaning behind it.
It's a cop out.
It's a cop out in the sense that it's 8 episodes and it's being explained in the last 20 minutes of the 8th episode. It's like this is like fucking this is a filler episode in itself. Do you know where you could go into the archives and find they even do it better in Back to the Future when fucking Doc goes and finds that newspaper room getting like
shot in the back for a matter of $80. What kind of a future is that?
But like that is funny and it's done better as well. And it's like that thing where I'm like, oh, it's ridiculous, like whatever else. But like, there's it's so many things where I was like, I'm scratching my head, I'm like, what? Like, and as you said, this is the Stephen King novel where he basically wrote it with like a context of that being the kind of context, but it's just a love story. And I'm like, right,
but You know, that's the thing. Now that you got me thinking, dude, you know what they should have done is if they wanted to do a love story, that's fine. Like, I think the love story aspect between Jake and Sadie was actually really beautiful. And that's what felt like a fitting finale in the end of the show. Because although the Kennedy thing was super a cop-out and felt like, oh, God, this is terrible, the Sadie-Jake thing was beautiful, you know? Like, they could never be, but they were able to kind of, like, you know, he has hope. He did end up saving someone because she fucking lived a great life, you know? So, that was beautiful. But now that I'm thinking about it, what they should have done is, like, fuck the Kennedy assassination thing. Don't center your show on stopping something that is one of the greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Don't do that. Make it, like, why not make the guy who owns the diner be like, my dad had a gold watch and some asshole stole it. Can you get the gold watch back for me? And make that about the show. And you wouldn't give a shit about how it ended because you're like, fuck it. Like, you know, you would be able to focus more on... Because essentially Kennedy's assassination is the MacGuffin. You know what I mean? It's the point, the whole point of his journey, which is the more interesting thing. But in making the MacGuffin so fucking interesting, everyone was tricked into thinking... oh, that's the main fucking plot point. And then at the end of the show, they're like, no, actually it wasn't. And that's where I think where the show derailed. It should have been something else. Adding on
to that, and I agree with you, but the problem is, though, is that that's the big plot point. But if I went into that diner and went back into 1960s America, I would give no shit about Kennedy's assassination straight away. Like, I would just go do all kinds of stuff. I feel like it should have led into him, like, him being the 60s, meeting Dunhill, but at the same time, Kennedy's assassination influences him some... like, not the actual assassination, but something leading up to it eventually influences it to do it. But it's like and Al Templeton, what's his motive for saving Kennedy? What does he think's gonna happen? There's no reason for him to save Kennedy. It's like, he even kind of like mocks the idea when it's like, he's talking to his class.
Right.
The, Epping, he's talking to his, present class. It's like, if you go back in history, what event would you stop? Yeah. And like, they give you ridiculous responses and stuff like that. It's like, Kennedy's assassination doesn't really have huge connotations. As you said, it's a big conspiracy theory. It's a big event. The arching point is he's going back to 1960s America. That should be the point. Yeah. And he goes back in time. It's a new life. It's a new journey. He's just had a divorce, but it's like, maybe it's like a rebirth for him in like a different period. He knows the period. And then eventually... the thing is, like, it's an English teacher as well. If he was a history teacher, it'd make more sense because he cares about Kennedy's assassination. Like, that's... like, it's just... I'm nitpicking here beyond, like, what it is. I'm not saying the TV show is terrible.
Yeah,
but there's ideas where I'm like, what? Like, he's an English teacher. What? Why does he care? If I was a history teacher, I'd be like, you know what? I want to go see that. I want to see if Oswald was the shooter. I want to see if it was him. Were there other shooters, like...
I'm thinking this probably would have been a better movie than a show. No, really, because you would have cut all the fluff. Like, you would have cut all the fluff, and it would have been, like, a lot more straight and to the point. And James Franco's a great actor. He can carry a movie on his own. He's done it before.
Yeah, I'll give Franco credit in this TV show. He's fucking brilliant because he just holds his own, especially with shit dialogue and everything else.
Everyone, for the record, everyone, because we haven't mentioned this yet, everyone on that show was fucking great. Even if, like, their, roles were not the best, like, everyone was fantastic on that show.
Yeah. They nailed it, but, like...
Except for Lee Harvey Oswald, I don't know why, like... I guess you're telling me it kind of fits his persona. I don't know much about that man, but like he sounds so he comes off as like you have to like kind of like help him tie his shoe. I don't know. It's weird. Like he comes off as weird.
He was kind of like that. The thing is, if you read about him, it'll give you kind of context. But if you're not reading any history of Lee Harvey Oswald, and you kind of like just go in with the kind of fluff, he does look very strange. He kind of feels forceful and like there's no real. The thing is though. Again, if it's that conspiracy theory, the arching point of the conspiracy theory was like a lot of people were influencing Oswald to the point where he kind of talked like that. And when he stands in the middle of that police station and starts like saying, "You saw this on record to that woman," blah blah blah, and like in the letter, and everything else, it's awkwardly shot and everything else because of who he is. But it's like there's no real like at the end, it basically goes to this idea where Lee Harvey Oswald's almost the conspirator, like behind everything else, and it's got a massive conspiracy theory. But at the end, it just cops out being Lee Harvey Oswald on his own shooting Kennedy.
Right.
And it's like. I'm not expecting it to be a conspiracy theory on grand occasions, but it should be like the idea where, like, Lee Harvey Oswald gets killed halfway into the TV show, and then Bill takes over because like Bill gets that friendship with like Oswald, and like he's pretending to like shoot him, and because like he kills Oswald, like he wants like he kind of like shifts to taking his position, Like there's that kind of repercussion idea, like that everlasting chain that continues even if you keep doing it. That event will happen no matter what.
Yeah,
that's the idea. Like Oswald, I don't think they did Oswald that much justice though, and I'm not saying Oswald needs justice. It's more in the sense like his character really wasn't fleshed out to the point where it should have been. He was just basically looked like a wife beater, kind of like a communist sympathizer, and kind of like nothing else to him except for kind of almost like he had some kind of like speech, like learning problem, or kind of like this thing. But he wasn't. He's quite intelligent. He kind of like knew what he was doing with things.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like they made him sound like he's a person that has like. When I say mental issue, I'm being serious about this. When I say like he sounds like a person that's a special needs person that requires more assistance, or I don't know what the correct political term is. I'm trying not to sound offensive, but he sounded like somebody that could not live by himself and run whatever. But the show firmly establishes that no, he's quite a very intelligent man, and with the communism things and all the shit that he says. But it just, I don't know, like, I didn't like the portrayal of it. I guess it took me out of it. It'd be like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's like, I don't feel like the way the character was written was how the actor should have portrayed him. I felt like the character the actor played the character in a way that was different than he was written, if that makes any sense. And that was the only character I felt that way with. Like, it just felt off for some reason, for me personally. But, yeah, I mean, whatever, man. I guess at the end of the day, I mean, he's a supporting player. He's more of like a plot point rather than anything else. They just kind of embellished him a bit and added all those, little bits. But yeah, I don't know, dude. It was, I mean, overall, I did enjoy the show. I thought it was entertaining. I mean, me and Rebecca sat down and watched it every, actually it's funny, we don't have Hulu, but Rebecca's mom does. So we told her about the show because I think Xbox had it for free the first episode to get you hooked, so then you get a Hulu account or whatever. And we told Rebecca's mom about it, and she's like, this is really fucking good. Do you guys want to use my Hulu account too? And we're like, yeah. And so she gave us her credentials or whatever, and we were able to go in and watch the rest of it. But yeah, like it slowly, like as I was watching, I slowly began to be disinterested. I was like, I don't know, man. This is kind of like... But at the end of it, it's fun. I think it's worth a watch. I would recommend it to somebody.
Yeah.
Albeit all its issues, and it fucking has a lot of issues,
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll give you the fact that just watch it kind of for the sake of it, because the ending isn't... For me, because it goes so translucent against all the other stuff that was going, and I was more interested in the history side, yet the love story took the massive forefront, and then it kind of went to such a cheesy ending. I'm like, I can't really appreciate this because I didn't really get a huge amount of kind of like interest from it. It was just kind of like such a wishy-washy story to the point where it's like, you know what, I went in time, messed about stuff, came back, didn't work out, went back in time, oh, I can't have the woman, come back, hey, I'll see if I can see him now in the present, let's reunite. Oh, like kind of like, jazz hands at the end of like the thing. It's just like, right, okay, I'm kind of done. I enjoyed watching it. The first episode, I agree with you, was a stellar episode. It was really kind of like the pilot that sells any kind of TV network. Problem is the next 7 episodes weren't right. It was good for 8 episodes, but saying that, when you look at it, you could stretch it out a couple more. In itself, it has a universe which could have another season. Necessarily, it should have just been based on the book, like, characters based on the book, and then they could have messed around with it a bit more.
Yeah.
Because that's what you can do with Stephen King. So, I mean, look at The Shining. Like, Kubrick made a completely different film from what the book said. He just took the characters and he was like, you know what, I'll make my own film. And it's amazing. And then you see, what's it called, King make his own TV show on The Shining. And it was terrible. Like, it kind of like, it speaks in itself. Like, it just speaks so much.
Definitely.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was gonna add and say, like, despite all that, there is something about it though that you're like, shit, I kind of want to keep watching this. Like, despite all of its flaws, because I really want to get that point across to everybody that, we think it's a very watchable show. Like, it is, but it's just, good lord, it's got a lot of, issues. It kind of reminds me of the TV show version of The Amazing Spider-Man 1, where... What is that I used to jokingly tell people? I enjoyed 60% of the movie, and I hated 40% of it. That's not an actual, percentage, like, exact percentage.
Yeah.
In that I enjoyed more than I hated, but there was quite a lot I hated,
Yeah. I mean, like, before we kind of, like, wrap up anyway, it's more like, because we're different perspective, I love history. I'm not sure about you.
Oh, I love history.
I take in any kind of like fucking history, like, and I'll like, if it's like, it's kind of central to what it is, like Man in the High Castle, alternative history. The Japanese have like taken control of like the South Pacific of it's South Pacific of America, and then the Nazis control the other side. It's kind of like it's seeing life in like Philip K. Dick's novel. It's so rich in history. It can be ridiculous. Like you could say like Mussolini was killed like a year after they took over, and like by a dog. I wouldn't care because like there's so much more like imagination. Like as I said, like he must go into a room with like a massive board and then just draw webs everywhere. Like, Hitler's here, Himmler's here, fucking Goebbels is here, what they're doing, what's this and that. Like, there's so much to it, which made it interesting. This wasn't. I was like, you know what? Like,
like, I'm going to pack my bags now.
There's basically someone not insulting to Stephen King, but it's like someone went on Wikipedia and just trying to, like, construct something in about 5 minutes and put it together and, like, adios, done.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work out like that.
Yeah, it kind of works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we double check
it? It's all for my original vision.
Yeah, it's for my original vision. Lucas, when I made the movie. But yeah, I think we're done, dude. Here, this is but again, bottom line, if you guys have Hulu, I would definitely say give it a chance. You know what I wouldn't say though? I wouldn't say this is a show that is worth like the soul, like the show that makes you want to get a Hulu account. I wouldn't say like get a Hulu account just for 11/22/63. No fucking way. Like, it's cool if you have one, if you happen to have one, or if you're gonna get one anyway, give it a shot. It's pretty cool. And I definitely think it's interesting Hulu is now trying to make original show, because this is a Hulu original, like how, Daredevil's a Netflix original and so on.
And High Castle Amazon, yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool. I like how all these people are kind of like putting themselves out there. It's good to have competition. It keeps everyone on their toes.
Yeah, but so basically, if you want to follow us for up-to-date episodes from Spoilercast, be sure to follow our other podcast, Gamer Headline Show, on Twitter at TGH Show, and like our official Facebook page, Gamer Headline Show. Additionally, Gamer Headlines' Spoilercast can be found on Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, and of course right here at GamerHeadlines.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Or next week.
Next week. In the next.
That's the 11/22/63.
Yeah.
We time travel and redo the episode.
So just come back and rewatch this episode again next week. All right, guys. Take care.